freezing rain, no taxis, and a dead-end street in Paris. That is the exact moment the traditional economy began to die. You see, we're told that the digital revolution was inevitable, but it was actually born from the pure, unadulterated frustration of Jeff Hawkins. He had a vision that the giant, beige computers of the 1990s should fit into your pocket. At the time, people laughed. They called it a toy. But while the titans of tech were fighting over desktop dominance, a small team in Silicon Valley was busy decapitating the PC era by inventing something entirely new. This isn't just a story about a gadget. It is a story about the bridge that led us from heavy paper planners to the glass slobs we hold today. Before the iPhone, before the Android, there was one king that ruled the palms of our hands. This is the rise, the absolute dominance, and the tragic fall of Palm. Welcome to the era of the PDA. In the mid-1990s, Jeff Hawkins didn't start with a circuit board. He started with a block of wood. That is right, he carried a piece of wood in his pocket for weeks, pulling it out to pretend check his schedule or write down a note. He was obsessing over the form factor. You see, Apple had already tried this with the Newton, and it was a colossal billion-dollar failure because it was too big and too ambitious. Hawkins knew better. He stripped away the complexity. The first Palm Pilot, released in 1996, wasn't trying to be a computer. It was trying to be an organizer. It ran on 2 AAA batteries, had a monochrome screen, and used a strange shorthand writing system called graffiti. It was simple, it was fast, and it was exactly what the world didn't know it needed. Within 18 months, they had sold over 1 million units, making it the fastest-growing consumer electronic device in history at that point. Success in Silicon Valley often attracts sharks, and Palm was swimming in deep waters. Even before the Pilot launched, Palm was acquired by US Robotics. Then, just a year later, US Robotics was swallowed by the networking giant 3Com. Imagine being a visionary founder like Jeff Hawkins or Donna Dubinsky and suddenly finding yourself buried under layers of corporate bureaucracy at a company that sells routers and modems. The tension was palpable. 3Com didn't understand the consumer magic of Palm. They saw it as an accessory, not a revolution. By 1998, the founders had enough. In a move that shocked the industry, Hawkins, Dubinsky, and Ed Colligan walked out of their own success story. They left Palm to start a competitor called Handspring. It was a civil war, and the stakes were nothing less than the future of mobile computing. Even with the founders gone, the brand Palm was unstoppable. By the year 2000, Palm controlled over 70% of the handheld market. Everyone from doctors to Wall Street traders was beaming contact info via infrared ports. It felt like magic. The Palm 5 series was the peak of industrial design, thin, metallic, and incredibly cool. Meanwhile, the former founders at Handspring were pushing the envelope with the Visor, adding expansion slots for cameras and even phones. This internal competition actually drove the entire industry forward. The Palm OS became the standard, much like Windows was for the PC. Developers were flocking to the platform, creating thousands of apps, games, and tools. If you were a professional in the year 2001, you didn't have a phone in your hand. You had a Palm Pilot. It was the ultimate status symbol of the digital age. But a storm was gathering on the horizon. The world was changing from organizing to communicating. People were tired of carrying 2 devices, a cell phone for calls and a PDA for their calendar. This was the convergence. Handspring saw it first with the Treo, one of the very first true smartphones. Eventually, Palm realized they had to reunite, and they bought Handspring back in 2003 to gain the Treo technology. For a few years, the Palm Treo was the king of the world. Even celebrities and presidents used them. But beneath the surface, the foundations were rotting. The Palm OS was built for 1996. It couldn't handle multitasking. It couldn't handle high-speed web browsing, and it was never designed for the modern internet. While Palm was trying to patch an old engine, a company in Cupertino was secretly building a rocket ship. January 9th, 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and changed everything. When the iPhone was revealed, Palm CEO Ed Colligan famously said, "PC guys are not going to just figure this out. They're not going to just walk in." It was the classic mistake of a dominant incumbent, hubris. Palm thought their physical keyboards and stylus-driven menus were what people wanted. They didn't realize that the world wanted a pocket-sized supercomputer with a multi-touch screen. Suddenly, the Treo looked like a relic from a bygone era. Palm's stock began to crater, and their market share evaporated almost overnight. They had spent years failing to develop a successor to their aging operating system, and now they were out of time. They needed a miracle, or they would face total extinction in the shadow of the Apple giant. In a desperate, brilliant move, Palm recruited John Rubinstein, the man who led the iPod team at Apple. They built a brand new operating system from scratch called WebOS. And here is the tragedy. It was actually incredible. When the Palm Pre launched in 2009, it introduced things we take for granted today, like cards for multitasking, universal search, and wireless charging. It was years ahead of Android and even iOS in some ways. Critics loved it, but the execution was a disaster. The hardware was flimsy, the launch was exclusive to one carrier, and the marketing was, frankly, bizarre. Palm was a company with great ideas, but no more money to fight the marketing wars against Apple and Samsung. In 2010, HP bought Palm for $1.2 billion, only to kill the hardware division just 1 year later. The king was officially dead. Palm is gone, but if you look at your phone right now, you are looking at its ghost. Every time you swipe a card to close an app, thank Palm. Every time you see a notification pop up at the top of your screen, thank Palm. Every time you search for something without opening an app, thank Palm. They taught us how to live with computers in our pockets. They proved that technology could be personal, intuitive, and simple. The business lesson here is a sharp one. Being the first doesn't mean being the last. Success can blind you to the very revolution you started. Palm ignited the mobile fire, and while they were eventually consumed by it, their DNA lives on in every smartphone on the planet. They didn't just build a device, they built the future. May we never forget the little gray box that started it all. I hope this deep dive gave you a new perspective on the strategies and the relentless mindset behind these global icons. If you enjoy deconstructing business empires and tech legends in this tech archive style, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. That way, you will never miss a new blueprint of history. For those of you ready to explore more boardroom coups and technological breakthroughs, I have handpicked 2 videos for you right here on the screen. Click one to keep watching. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.